Alrighty, I've just spent the last 2 hours watching the Trimet board meeting. I'm one of those crazy people that actually likes to watch this kind of stuff. And the whole Kelsey thing, it went about as what I would have expected. I mean, there really wasn't any challenging moments for him, which I thought was too bad. Jonathan Hunt and um, Anthony Forrester made some very good points, and we're going to play those in a minute here. There's some things to be gleaned from this. We already know this. The TriMet watchers already know all of this information, so it's not new. This is definitely going to be more of the same. That's what I walk away from listening to the public comments and his responses. This is going to be more of the same, and that was always the intent. And they made very good points about the lack of transparency in the hiring process, the fact that additional candidates weren't allowed to be vetted by the public. And their person they hired, who knows how much they got paid, probably $500,000 or something, who knows, to conduct the search, went on about how, well, we had 3 black women, 2 black men, and 4 white men, and only 1 black woman and 2 white men wanted the job, and a lot of them didn't like it because it's too rainy here, and a lot of them didn't like it because the pay's not high enough, and they don't get a defined pension. The neoliberal masters that run public transportation, we've heard this, I heard this in MBTA especially, how they're not getting talent, let's put quotes, talent, as if these general managers are some kind of a superhuman if you don't pay them enough. And I reject that premise on its face. I reject the idea that you can't get somebody good unless you pay them $500,000. Because I don't see any of them doing anything good. All right, I don't see anything good happening. Maybe Seattle, maybe. I'm not sold yet. But everything I see, people are reasonably happy with the service in Seattle. I haven't been tracking it. I mean, they have all the same problems as every other mass transit district has in this country. Overcrowded, unreliable. But they're the one transit district in the country that seems to be actually has something to boast about. The ridership is increasing, which is an objective measure of success. So let's look at some of these highlights here, and we'll talk about it. Most of this meeting was a waste of time unless you're into this material like I am, and then it's interesting. But I think what we can all walk away from seeing here is that this is more of the same, and this is what we're going to get with Kelsey. And they went on about how they tried. This is the exact same, and I should go dig it up, but I'm too lazy to look through my archives. Although I'm retired and I'm basically bored because I'm stuck in where I'm at and I can't really leave for various reasons. I have plenty of time on my hands to do all these things, but I don't have the discipline to search my archives. But I remember when McFarland took over from Hanson, it was the exact same bullshit. They went through the whole executive search and blah, blah, blah. I don't think they did not allow anybody back then to interview Neil or to ask him any questions, but they did the exact same thing back then, and what they're really looking at is this board answerable to the governor, this democratic chain of control that is ironclad in Oregon and Portland, is to make sure these cash flows, because people don't really understand what government really is. It's been so hidden from the true meaning, but it's a series of cash flows. Okay, these are all tax farms, and that money that's going from the taxpayers goes to other people. Okay, that money goes to other people, and so these people that are in these boards and committees and general managers, who are unelected, by the way, make sure these cash flows maintain where they're going. I don't want any disruption. And I'm sure that's what's going on here. because they want to make sure everything keeps getting the funding that it's been getting. And I'm talking basically about capital projects. So let's look at some of the highlights.
Open and as transparent as possible. And we really want to use this morning, to provide you with a bit more detail about our outreach to folks, individuals and groups. The search process itself, since I don't think that's really been reported much in terms of what we've done. Some of our priorities and expectations for the new general manager. And then, frankly, I think most of you are here for the outcomes of that work. But today, this morning, is really meant to be your opportunity to meet and ask questions of the board-selected finalists for GM, and for us to hear from the public on that selection.
You know, I really have to hand it to Warner. He's so smooth. Okay, this guy Warner is a career technocrat. Spent years as a city manager. He's very smooth in his presentation, and he's almost, you know, if you didn't know better, you'd believe him. But, you know, he's not credible because of who he is and how he's behaved. And his job is simply to defend the general manager. This is the board's job. It's important to understand. Their job is to screen the general manager from the general public. And he went on to tell us how transparent. I mean, the board meetings are such schlock, really, in terms of the artificial nature of how they present themselves is so over the top. It's hard. I can't really watch them because it's so artificial. But I congratulate Warren for being so good at being such a fraud.
Selected Doug Kelsey. Doug, raise your hand there. As the finalist in our search for a new general manager. And I'm going to bring him up in a moment after we have a report on our process. But what I'd like to right now is call up Celia Coopersmith with the executive search firm KL2 Connects, LLC, with whom we contracted for the GM recruitment, and to go over the search process and some of the particulars that you did for us. And good morning, Celia.
Good morning. Thank you. Ooh, you're right. This is very loud. Okay. Thank you very much.
Is it too loud back there? Okay, good.
Okay, good. Good. Then I will keep it close. Thank you very much for the opportunity to undertake this search in the first place, and for this opportunity specifically to talk about the process that we went through. KL2 is a executive search firm that focuses exclusively on public transportation. Everyone in the firm has...
We're not going to watch this whole presentation of hers, but she's going to go in here. And what I talked about earlier was we had so many white, so many black, so many blah, blah, blah. They didn't like it. They didn't like this. So we're not going to watch it, but I wanted to show you who she was. And we have no idea how much Trimet paid for this. I mean, the thing that always strikes me about Trimet management is how they always have money for all of this other stuff, okay? But they won't take a sick operator back from the road. They won't pay for that. But they have money for every other goddamn thing you can think of. All right, we'll watch a little bit of Kelsey's opening statement. And you know, there's no point watching it because it was pretty blah as far as I was concerned. But let's watch a minute or two of it just so you can get an idea of what he was thinking, I guess. I mean, it's not a bold, exciting presentation. It's like a piece of white bread or something.
Thank you, Mr. Board President, members of the board, and the public, with a great turnout today joining us. Firstly, I'm truly honored and humbled being in front of all of you today as the finalist for General Manager of Trimet. In the few minutes that's been provided to me, I'd like to share maybe some insights about my personal background, someone behind the suit, if you will, as well as my working background. First, as President Warner's indicated, I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia. I'm from a middle-class working family where my parents, they were teachers and they were educators.
Yeah, and he went on for 5 minutes about his humble beginnings. It sounds like Neil. Remember when Neil made his City Club speech? He goes, my parents were, what were they? Shoemakers, or I don't know, worked in a factory or something like that. It sounds like Kelsey. So he goes on for 5 minutes talking about his humble beginnings, and like I said, there's no point in watching it because it's not exciting. It's bland. Okay, let's go right to the testimonies, and we'll watch a little bit of most of them. Some of them I'm just going to cut right out because they don't, no value to watch it. I eliminated the first two speakers. They're not worth watching. The answers weren't worth watching. Questions weren't worth watching. I'm going to go straight to Shirley Block here.
President Block, nice to see you here this morning.
Good morning, President Warner and board. Hi, Doug.
Good morning.
I have about 6 questions, but they're short. Don't
Okay,
panic.
all right. I mean like yes, no answers? We're good?
Yes, no.
Okay,
answer.
all right.
That'll work. Doug, my first question to you is, do you believe in keeping unions jobs or contracting out jobs?
I believe in both union and contract out. I think there's a balance. I believe in, I refer to maybe as healthy tensions that keep all of us in checks and balances.
Okay, well, he's already given himself away on this one. He believes in both. Well, that's not the right answer. I mean, he should believe in union jobs because they're the best paying job. Union jobs are the ones that provide middle-class lifestyles with benefits. But he's already said that he's not in favor. We believe in both. Well, that means he believes in contracting out.
I think I come from, I said my parents were teachers from a unionized environment. I think the union workforce has helped made all of our worlds better. But I do believe as leaders of organizations, you want to always have alternatives available to you that make sense for those all situations. So I actually believe there's room for both, particularly as we're expanding. So I think there's room for more bus operators, more mechanics, all those types of things. But and if there are changes in the working and wage agreement, in some cases we're going to have to negotiate those out and that come to an agreement for all parties, should we ever elect to do that.
Okay. Since you're moving
Well, she didn't press him on that issue. I wish she should have pressed him a little bit more.
up through the ranks, do you see that happening for other members of the organization?
Can maybe see what happening? Maybe a little clarification needed, Shirley.
Since you're moving up the ranks yourself,
Okay.
I see a lot of hiring going on at Trimet that's coming directly from outside. Inside applicants don't have
Okay.
the opportunity to do that?
Yeah, great question. I think firstly, I just finished an orientation program that a lot of the leaders sit in, and firstly, 50% of the last class was a diverse class, which I think was wonderful from a diversity perspective. We recently hired, probably the last 30 to 45 days, 4 key management roles. 2 were internal promotions, and the other 2 were from external. So I think there's a balance that has to go on. We need to help invest in our people internally more.
No, there's not a balance. Really, the best organizations are the ones that have promoted the people from within the organizations to take over. People that understand the organization, understand the job. So when he says it's a balance, what he's really saying is we don't have enough good people here, and that's not true. I mean, I spent 15 years there. There are plenty of good people driving buses in Portland, believe me, that have advanced educations if that's what you want, and quite educated and literate. But we know the deal here. These managers like to have managers that have no connection to the people that are doing the work, because that way they can do the discipline without any emotional feelings. That's what's really happening here.
More and more. Plus, we also want to attract the best and the brightest as well. Many of those exist internally, but we also need to be receptive to the outside market as well. So I think there's a...
I really object to this, the best and the brightest. And I want to make a comment that public transportation in the United States is an abysmal failure. I don't care. The public transportation industrial complex has billions of dollars floating around. It's got a huge, big industry created out of it. People like Jared Walker and a whole host of other people profit off this industry, and they basically function as mouthpieces for the industry. The best and the brightest, I don't see any such thing anywhere, okay? All of these agencies, and since I've been able to be retired and I've had all this time on my hands, I've looked into this and I've followed a lot of things and I've read a lot of material. None of these places are functioning very well. None of them, none. So when he says the best in the, there's no, it doesn't even exist in this field really. Okay, it's not even there. And once again, the only place that is doing something different is Seattle that I can see. All right, I don't see anything happening anywhere, especially Portland. Okay, nothing's happening here that's different. They're following this rail building, this gentrification program, which is benefiting the elites. And the elites own the government. We know that. We know that from Trump. We know that from Brown. We know that from Wheeler. We know that. So who really owns the government? It's the elites. And that's going on here at Trimet. Okay, there is no best and the brightest. There is competence and incompetence.
Balance here. In fact, of the 4 managers we hired, all 4 were diverse candidates as leaders, which is I'm really excited about. So there's a balance here.
Okay.
I didn't catch that first time around. That's why I like to watch these again. Did you see Shirley's expression? I mean, Shirley might not be the best public speaker, but if you watch her closely and watch her expressions, she knows what's going on. This woman knows what's happening. Okay, she's not stupid. She knows when she's being conned.
I'm going to hold you to that, but we'll move on.
Okay.
Do you believe in letting frontline managers make decisions?
Absolutely. I really do.
Did you see her look? Did you see her chuckle there? See this? She's chuckling. I just love it.
Do I believe they make decisions or need to make decisions?
Making decisions, because right now,
Oh,
the way
absolutely.
it works, it's not happening.
Yeah.
You and I both had this conversation.
We did, yes.
Yeah.
So I think there's work to do. I think we're also, when you turn over employees, sometimes a new person going to a job, sometimes a new person needs support that matches the authorities that they go with. So there's always a learning piece to this. But I do believe that we need to get more and more authority and empowerment down to our frontline team. I think there's work to do in that.
Do you believe in change by training and not by fear of a person losing their job?
See, I understand what's going on here because I follow it. I understand what's going on. And people that don't follow it don't understand what she's talking about. But that's what they do. It's fear. Okay, they use fear as a disciplinary tool. And it's brutal. And it's gotten worse. I've been gone for 6 years, which is a long time. But I listen to the conversations going on in the groups, and I'm listening to the calls. I'm actually listening to the actual operations, and these people are scared, man. They have them scared. Okay, so she's right on the money. They're scared, and almost okay. Sure, there's a few rogue drivers, I suppose, but you have to understand what this job does to you. People are unaware of how brutal the environment of a public transportation driver is. It's brutal conditions. Brutal. You're in a war, basically. You know, you have this people behind you, all these riders have all these expectations. You have all that traffic out there, people outside of the bus looking at you, looking to see if they can find you doing something wrong. And then you have this management that's punitive. And she's right. I mean, this is what they've been doing. She doesn't really quite make that clear, but I know what she's talking about.
The answer would be yes, it should be that way.
Do you believe in frontline committees making, well, let me ask another question.
Sure.
On-time performance. Do you put on-time performance ahead of safety?
Absolutely not. You can be safe and be on time.
Holy shit, there you have it. You can be safe and you can be on time. That's not the answer operators want to hear. The correct answer is safety is always more important than on time, but he didn't say that. He said you can be both, and no, you can't be both all the time. On time depends on the scheduling more than anything. And with the neoliberal transit management of today, they want to maximize production of their workforce. So they make the schedules tight. In many cases, I'd say half the Trimet schedules don't work. Half of them do work. We know they can devise a schedule that works because I know that. They actually do have schedules that work, but half of the schedules don't work. And they know that. They know that. I know they know that because way back, years back, I went to the director of scheduling and I said to him, "This doesn't work." And he goes, "I know it doesn't work." I said, "Well, why are you doing it?" He goes, like, he points up. And they know they don't work, but they publish them anyway. So no, you can't be always on time and on schedule. So that's not a good answer. Bad, bad, bad.
So are we going to, it's more than 6, but I have time.
Keep going, you're fine.
Schedules. Are you going to improve the schedules at Trimet, both bus and rail?
Well, it depends on I think we always are interested in ways to refine our schedules. There's some technical side to scale. If it's rail, it's a different set of scheduling than bus. We're trying to manage how we handle this for our customers, so our customers get good handoffs, if you will. So the trains and the buses arrive on their terms. There's a technical side to the rail side in on-time performance. A lot of it's engineered to make sure that, in fact, to your earlier question, it is safe. And so I think being receptive to if we've got schedule elements where the layovers perhaps aren't right, I think we need to be receptive to that and absolutely always going to look at that. And in fact, I know in some of our current schedules we're reviewing, Shirley, that's actually one of the areas we're looking at, is do we have maybe layovers not quite right? So the answer is yes.
And we want to improve on our operator safety as well. Assaults are is high. We've had 4 so far in January. And the month's not even over yet.
Yeah, assaults, like I've always tried to come to work no matter where it is. Those are dear friends and family. Nobody wants to see an assault on any operator, any employee, anywhere. And so we need to continue to bolster this up. I think through the joint committees that we actually did work on around bus barriers, for example. It's not going to solve all the problems, but it gives our operators a tool in their toolbox to mitigate risk if they're feeling uncomfortable. We're trying to balance that, as many other transit systems use bus barriers, for example. So we're proceeding on that basis through the agreement of that joint committee we put in place. I think that's going to help us very positively. I think statistics would show around other transit agencies, in fact, that it does. So I think we have to work on that. We actually talked recently about even peer diffuser alternatives out there to help should something happen. How do we help and respond to our employees in a quicker way? So yes, we need to continue to focus on helping reduce assaults for our operators, not just operators, but all employees.
Correct, all employees. And my last thing that has concerned me, that has brought to my attention, when an operator, which the public don't realize this, the public don't realize how operators get relieved on the road from their bus. If they're sick or have a family emergency, they are relieved on the road. They don't need to be stranded on the road. They need to be away, transported back to the garage or taken back some kind of way. They can't be left on the road like this last incident on Friday. You and I talked about this.
We did.
We cannot have this happen anymore. All the operators need to be transported back to the garage under any circumstances they are relieved on the road.
Well, she's absolutely correct. There's no justification, morally, ethically, or otherwise, for the policy of, find your own way back to the garage. There's absolutely no moral justification for that. And I've witnessed conversations about this from Trimet shills who put forth arguments like, if you're working at Fred Meyer and you get sick, well, do you expect them to give you a ride home? Of course, if you're working at Fred Meyer, your car is already at Fred Meyer. If you're working at Trimet, all of a sudden you got the flu hits you in your middle, you're somewhere on the Carver curves up by Estacada. You're supposed to get your own way home. This is completely unjustifiable, completely morally wrong. And let's see what Mr. Kelsey has to say about it.
Yeah, I think, when you raise this with me, I think this is an important issue. I've committed to you to dig into this, to understand this better. I need to understand what the different angles of the facts are on this. On the surface, to me, it doesn't pass the test. That if somebody's out there and needs help, we need to help them. So I need to look at the facts of this, happy to do so, and get to a resolution that actually makes sense, I think, for all parties, because safety is everybody's ownership. And so I'm absolutely committed to doing that.
No, 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 not a good enough answer. Not, he wants to look into it. No, no, you don't have to look into it. This is an ethics question. Operator's sick on the road. Are you going to get them back or not? They're talking about a $1 billion agency that spends money like water on all the shit these managers want. But he's going to look into it, which it's a fail. That's a fail. It's not the right answer. You should hit the road, Kelsey.
All right.
Thank you very much.
And you saw the look of disgust on her face. Shirley's the kind of person you have to look to see what she's thinking. Her facial, it's very facial. Her body language is the whole deal, and she knows he's full of shit. She knows that. She's not dumb. She knows the deal. He's full of shit, and he's not going to change anything.